You are watching Canada Tonight. We're closely monitoring the situation in Florida right now. This is the scene in Bradenton at this hour where residents are bracing for Hurricane Milton. It has now been downgraded to a Category 3 hurricane, but officials warn it has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for west central Florida. And emergency officials warn communities are going to be, quote, forever changed by the storm's impact. Sarasota is just south of Bradenton. That's where we find Sandra Tapfumaneyi. She's the emergency management chief for Sarasota County, joining us now. Thanks for being here. And I just want to talk to you about some breaking news. We're seeing that the Sarasota Police Department has recently tweeted that emergency services are now grounded, and they're telling residents you need to shelter in place. If you need help, we cannot respond. Can you just give us an update on what the situation is right now?
Yes, sure. Well, thank you so much for having us on. So our winds have picked up. So now that we are around 45 mile per hour winds, that's really at the time where first responders cannot respond anymore safely. So we had made the decision countywide to cease operations for first responders. So that happened at about 6 o'clock our time Eastern here. And about an hour previous to that, we had sent out an alert to all residents that it was time for them to shelter in place. We are starting to see the impacts of this storm, and it's going to be a very large impact for the Sarasota County area.
So let me just ask you how you will gauge when you can restore those emergency services and have first responders go out when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, so we have different weather monitors out for the wind. And then when we see that those winds are died down under that 45 mile per hour range, then we'll be able to allow them to go out at that point in time. Right now, the storm is moving pretty quickly, so we think it'll be about a 15-hour or so time frame. So we're looking at tomorrow morning, sometime between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. 4
a.m. and 8 a.m. before emergency workers can get back out and assess the situation. Right. Tell me kind of about the resources that you have once they are able to get out, once the eye of the storm does pass over the Sarasota area, what resources you will have for the community.
Sure. So, one thing about Florida is that we are packed with resources, and we have a state emergency operations program that we partner with to bring in state resources, federal resources. So right now we have teams standing by, in addition to our local responders that are ready to go out and start to do search and rescue operations. We have what's called an urban search and rescue teams that are all positioned throughout the state. Those teams come across all over the country, and they're ready to roll in as soon as it's safe to do so. So we have many teams that are coming in to help us with search and rescue efforts. We have utility services that have different teams that will be coming in so we can get power back restored, and different utilities that we know and anticipate will be cut off because of this storm. And then we have teams that come in to support with things like logistics. And so, for example, the forestry team for the state is coming in to help us manage what we call a county staging area. So we're going to be having semi-trucks load of food and water and tarps and ice coming in afterwards. And so we need teams in place to help with things that are not traditionally things we would do on a day-to-day basis.
A lot of Canadians know the Sarasota Bradenton area because it's a place for snowbirds to go. There's a lot of retirees from Canada that go down there. The vulnerable include seniors sometimes that can't actually leave and have mobility issues. How concerned are you for seniors right now? And are there any special plans to try to go door to door, perhaps, to see if there are vulnerable people in those retirement communities?
Yeah, so we do, we have a high elderly population here in Sarasota County. We do know that many of those are seasonal residents, like you mentioned. So we do have, if anything, the good thing about this storm is that it's happening in October. Once we hit November, we start to see many more of those, come in from out of the area. But we just still have a large population of people who may be more vulnerable to these impacts. So we have gone door to door in many of the areas that we know are vulnerable. We have provided rides to people who would like to get to evacuation centers. And we run what's called a special needs program. If somebody has a medical need, they have maybe a need to be on oxygen, or they need electricity to plug in their medical equipment, they can register with us. And so we have a special shelter that has a generator so that they can have that power in order to run their equipment. And then we work with various nonprofits as well that will be checking on all of their clients.
I know that you're very busy and you do have to run. Just a quick last question to you. I know that your family has had to evacuate. On a personal note, how are they doing and how are you doing?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All of the people here working at the Emergency Operations Center, families, it's hard when you're separated from them. And myself personally, they've evacuated over to the East Coast. There was many tornadoes across the state of Florida that we had reports this afternoon. They are safe and buttoned up, and they should be fine on the East Coast. But I appreciate it. We've been able to stay in touch.
Okay. Sandra, appreciate it. That is Sandra Tapfumaneyi, who is the Emergency Management Chief of Sarasota County.